Bump's name.
Hey, everybody, welcome to episode 3 of the Tough Bumps podcast. I am Matt Connerton, and joining me from all the way in the Midwest, Eric Pilcher.
Yes, hello. And since we're recording on Mother's Day, Matt, I should say happy Mother's Day to all the mothers that may be listening or their children and they overhear it.
I would say word to your mothers.
Ooh, I like that.
Yes,
I mean,
word to your mothers.
it works. Usually I'd just say that sounded white and nerdy, but it works.
Yes.
Like today it works.
I should have transformed into my alter ego, M Sizzle, which it still would have sounded white and nerdy.
We can stop now.
We
don't need to go down this rabbit hole.
You don't need to experience M Sizzle. I've actually thought about removing M Sizzle's content from YouTube, but I haven't. But that's another story.
That could be wise.
Yes. But this is episode 3, and yes, we are recording this on Mother's Day, and we all woke up to some sad news. You'll have much more about to say about this than I will, because you're much more familiar with this career. At least I presume so. At the age of 60, Sabu passed away. Or is it Sabu or Sabu? What is the correct way to pronounce his name? Sabu. Okay.
Terrence Brunk. Yeah. It's fitting in a morbid sense, because this week's Dark Side of the Ring is about the original Sheik, who is Sabu's uncle. And Sabu is heavily featured in this week's episode.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that is ironic.
So, just very sad. I did a Facebook post about him, and he wasn't in the post. I said this, but I will say it again. He didn't give you 5-star expresses. He didn't give you 1-hour epics, but he served a niche audience, and he is one of the godfathers of hardcore wrestling. If you were going to do a Mount Rushmore of hardcore wrestling, it would be Sabu, Onita, Funk, and yeah.
Now
that and
go ahead.
Maybe Foley, yeah. For Onita, Funk, Sabu, and Foley, I think.
Now, my impression, and I'll ask you this, I say this without any really. So, well, I should just say in full disclosure, and I mean no disrespect. Obviously, Sabu, hugely influential and very important. So I don't want anyone to take this wrong. I personally am not terribly. I was always aware of him, of course, because he was so influential. I was not a fan. And again, please don't anyone take that wrong. I'm sad that he's passed away at the age of 60. That's horrible. And I know that he just had an officially a retirement match. Yep. I personally am not a fan of hardcore wrestling. Once I see barbed wire and all that kind of stuff, I'm out. I don't think I've ever watched a single Sabu match in my life. But my impression is, again, speaking from kind of a place of ignorance about him, because I didn't know that much about him. I mean, I certainly knew who he was. Like I said, if you showed me a picture of him, I would be able to tell you, oh yeah, that's Sabu, clearly. So I was always aware of him and his influence. But my impression is he was a huge part of not only of ECW, but in a broader sense, that style of wrestling. Like, he's the one who really kind of brought that to the forefront in the 90s. Am I correct about that? Like he's a giant in that sense.
In America, yes.
Okay.
I mean, Japan, you would say Onita.
Okay.
Atsushi Onita started FMW. FMW became very big in Japan. So Onita is certainly, he was it in Japan. But Sabu really brought it to America through ECW. And a lot of people, I give Sabu and Taz credit because their rivalry is what sold the first ECW pay-per-view, Barely Legal. Even though it wasn't the main event, Yeah, but nonetheless, that was the rivalry everyone was talking about that knew about ECW was Taz versus Sabu.
Was Taz his greatest rival in ECW, would you say?
Him, I would say either, I mean, it's one of four guys again. Taz, Rob Van Dam and him had an awesome dynamic where one night you could put those two in a match and it would be absolutely amazing. And then the next night they would defend the ECW tag titles
Hmm.
on a pay-per-view and it would be absolutely epic.
Okay. Okay.
Um, Sandman and him had some very violent matches. They had the Stairway to Heaven match,
Mm.
a barbed wire ladder match,
Hmm.
which, yes, that was the monumental train wreck you think it would be.
Yeah.
Um, but it made sense.
Hmm.
It made sense. And then I would have to say Terry Funk uh was probably his other major rival in ECW. Those three, and he to call him just a hardcore guy is somewhat diminishing because he was a great high flyer. Him and Ray, I thought, stole the show at one of the one night stands.
Hmm.
They had an amazing match with a spot where Ray was standing on a table bridged between the guardrail and the ring. Sabu goes across the ropes, does a springboard DDT onto Ray through the table.
So he could. So to be clear, because again, I've never watched a single Sabu match, but it sounds like based on what you're saying, he was more than just barbed wire and all that. Like he truly could do very athletic things as well.
Yes, he was a great high flyer,
Okay.
and um, he was probably, in my opinion, one of the first individuals to incorporate that hard hitting, high flying style into hardcore wrestling, like the Arabian Face Buster. You put the chair under your legs and you jump from the top ropes onto someone with it.
Hmm.
That was Sabu. Setting a chair up in the middle of the ring, going across the ropes, jumping off the chair onto someone outside of the ring. That was Sabu. Sabu was the innovator of high flying violence,
Okay.
in my opinion.
Well, they called him
Um,
that, didn't they? Didn't they call him the innovator of
no,
violence?
that was Tommy Dreamer.
Well, that was Tommy Dreamer. I'm sorry. Okay.
Sabu's was homicidal,
Oh,
genocidal, suicidal.
that's right. That's right.
And he really did. He put it all on the line. Um, and just it's a sad day for those that like the ECW because you don't have to like hardcore wrestling. People can sit here and say what they will about it.
Mhm.
Oh, it's blood and guts, it's this, it's that, it's whatever.
Yeah.
Um, but at the end of the day, he had ability.
Hmm.
He could tell a story in the ring, and he brought a style of wrestling to American audiences that American audiences really could identify with.
Sure. Sure. And
And
just,
that's and
oh, go
that's
ahead.
what made him great.
Yeah.
And people can sit here and talk about other people that were influential in ECW, fine.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you can't talk about ECW without talking about Sabu.
Yeah.
And you would be I don't think we're talking about ECW to this day if it wasn't for Sabu and Taz in that rivalry.
Would you say absolutely one of the top stars of ECW? Like one of the consistent main event top stars?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely. One of the top 10 greatest wrestlers to come from ECW.
What did they ever put the belt on him? Was he ever champion there?
Yes, in their early days, Sabu was the world champion.
Okay.
Mid '90s, he had a series of great matches with Sandman for the world ECW world title.
If you were to recommend a match for me, because I'm sure they're
Barely Legal
listening,
'97 match with Taz at Barely Legal '97. Just really was amazing. And
as what, his greatest match
now, if you want more of his
or his
hardcore style, the Stairway to Heaven match with Sandman
okay.
is just brutal. I don't even think it's on the network. You would
Okay,
have
yeah,
to
that
scour YouTube for that one.
yeah, that wouldn't
I
that
have
wouldn't appeal to me, I'm sure.
I mean, it's a great match. I
Mm,
mean, look, for me, a great hardcore match is one that no matter how violent it is, it keeps you wrapped into it.
mhm,
And
yeah.
that's what's important to me is if you can do that, that's amazing.
Now, do we know his cause of death? I haven't seen
No,
anything. Okay, he was only 60 years old, which is young, but it's not necessarily young. My first thought, and I'm sure this is the case for a lot of people, is that it's obviously he did a lot of damage to himself.
Sabu, no disrespect to Terry Bronk at
Yeah,
all.
yeah,
And anyone that knows Terry Bronk, I never even got a chance to meet him.
yeah.
But anyone that knows him knows this to be true. Terry was heavy into pharmaceuticals, as is a lot of the hardcore guys.
Painkillers. Yeah. I mean,
Well,
it's almost unavoidable, right?
I
Not to
mean,
justify it, but I mean,
keep in mind too, he was the other person in that infamous car ride with Rob Van Dam that got the WWE title taken off of him.
it was Sabu.
Yep.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Okay.
Yep. So yeah, I mean, so I don't want to, and I don't want anyone to think I'm alluding to it being drugs because I'm not. I'm saying that certainly anytime you have a wrestler that passes away that has the history, that's
Yeah.
something that goes into your mind. Regardless, to me, it doesn't take away from his legacy. His match that he had, his retirement match with Joey Janela, I thought was probably the best Joey Janela match I have seen. I'm not a Janela fan. I don't think I'll ever be a Janela fan. Um, for the
All I
same,
know of Janela is from his brief time in, I think it was brief in AEW. That's all I know of the
yeah,
guy.
there's like a personal thing.
Oh,
That I've read things he's done backstage online, and they're from pretty reputable sources, and so I'm not about that.
mhm.
There his on again off again relationship with Penelope Ford. I've heard again from multiple people I know he treated her very horribly.
Mm.
Yeah, and just like if you're a man and you're dating a woman, this isn't even just as a wrestler, this is just as a human being. If you're a man and you're dating a woman and you choose to treat her like garbage, you're not a man.
Yeah, agreed. Agreed.
Like you, I'm old school in that sense that as a man, when you're dating a woman, you are the protector.
Hmm.
You are her rock. And that's what you do.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, and I just, I don't like wrestlers that do violence just to do it.
Of course.
Like him and Sammy Callahan. I don't get it.
No, I don't
Because
either. But
it
I don't like that.
sets
I don't like any of that stuff to begin with.
See,
Yeah,
I don't
but I
mind.
don't get it.
It's kind of, and I hope this is the right word, kind of a dichotomy with me. I have no issue with hardcore wrestling. I have an issue with guys that's all they can do.
Yeah.
Like with Sabu, he can do a straight up match.
Yeah.
I've seen it. Yeah, I mean, the match I recommended is a prime example. Yeah, there's some chairs and such, and they bend the rules,
Yeah.
but at the end of the day, it was ECW. Um,
Yeah.
what do you expect? But those guys like that, Callahan and Janela, just take risks that are so unnecessary. I just point to the Sammy Callahan, Eddie Edwards situation with the chair and the ball bat. It
Yep.
didn't
I
even
know
need to
exactly
be
what you're
done.
talking about. Yeah.
It
Yeah.
made no damn sense to do it.
Yeah.
So why'd you do it?
I assume in the match, Sabu versus Janela, Sabu went over, I hope.
I don't think he did.
Oh, okay.
Because look, in Sabu, as much as people in the coming days, you're gonna it's natural in wrestling, and it's sad. You're gonna hear detractors of Sabu. Sabu was a traditional guy. He believed in the traditions of pro wrestling. And one of the traditions is when you go out on your back.
Yeah.
And I would have a hard time believing that Sabu didn't get Joey Janela over.
Okay. Okay.
Um, I would have a hard time believing that Sabu went into it and said, "Yeah, I'll go over," especially when the event's called Joey Janela's Spring Break.
Oh, that's what it was called, really?
Yeah,
Oh.
Game Change Wrestling, Joey Janela's Spring Break part. I think it's the third or fourth one.
Oh, okay. Okay. Um, well, rest in peace, Sabu. I mean, did you have anything to add on that, or should we move on?
No, rest in peace, Sabu. I mean, his influence will be and should be always remembered. And I will say this whenever a pro wrestler dies and it isn't of notorious circumstances, find the best memory you can of them and hold on to it.
Well
Don't
said.
don't let the bad. And I know detractors of not just our show, but pro wrestling are going to say, "Oh, are you saying that about Chris Benoit?" No, I'm not saying that about Chris Benoit.
Right.
Obviously, that's a one-off, or Billy Jack Haynes, or anyone that is accused of or has more than likely done what those men have done. Um, I'm saying if they have a checkered past, if they've had run-ins with the law, things like that, but you loved what they did in the ring, find that positive memory and just grab it and hold on to it and keep it, because that's what's truly going to keep their legacy alive.
Agreed. No, well said. Very well said. So another subject, before we get to the main event, of course, AAA signings. I think you know more about this subject than I do as well, because I think you're probably more familiar with
I'm
go ahead.
not well versed in AAA.
So, but you might, I suspect you know more than I do, but maybe not. But my impression has always been AAA is kind of it's the WWE of Mexico, right? It's the number one promotion in Mexico. And of course, now WWE is in the process. Apparently the deal is not finalized, but it's going to be. It's expected to be.
It is. You're right. It's going to be finalized.
Yeah.
But yes, you're accurate. It is the WWE of Mexico.
And with that, with WWE acquiring AAA, one of the very interesting people who WWE acquires in the process, I guess, although I'm sure they don't have to take him, right? But I guess it's assumed that Alberto Del Rio is going to be a part of that. And Alberto Del Rio, speaking of people with checkered pasts, my God, I mean, this guy.
He's currently suspended in Tijuana. He cannot wrestle in Tijuana.
Yeah, and that's a shoot. Just so we're clear with people, that's not part of a storyline. It's not an angle. This guy
attacked a security guard.
Yeah.
Or a person in the audience. And look, I want to be clear. This is not defending Alberto Del Rio.
Hmm.
This is context is king. The, it's a new AAA contract through WWE.
Hmm.
It does not indicate that Alberto Del Rio will be on WWE TV.
Right. Right.
It's not expected he will be. He has issues with quite a few people in WWE.
Yeah.
One of them being very heavily pushed right now, Stephanie Vaquer.
Oh, I love her, by the way. She's incredible in the
She
ring.
is. I'm
She's
always
gonna.
afraid of butchering her last name.
I've heard it pronounced a couple different ways. I believe it's Vaquer, but I'm not
Vaquer.
positive. That seems to be the most common
Yeah.
pronunciation I've heard.
No.
I've also heard it pronounced Vacker, which there's no way that's correct. But but she's incredible. But I didn't know. So tell me about this. See, because I didn't know that she specifically had a problem with Alberto
I think
Del
it was
Rio.
when she was in one of the Mexico promotions, either AAA or CML.
Okay.
There was I don't know the situation. I just know there's major heat there.
Okay.
And when it involves Alberto Del Rio, I side with the accuser.
Yeah.
Because the track record indicates as such.
Yeah.
It's the same with Tessa Blanchard. I go with the accuser until I take the approach of guilty until proven innocent on people like that in wrestling.
Yeah.
But I think that it's important to say that the deal is it keeps him in AAA and does not guarantee he will appear on WWE or NXT,
Right.
which I think is very, very, very important here. Now, one other interesting signing is Viking Del Rio, and it is very much expected that he will have matches in WWE.
Jenny and I watched a couple of his matches when he was in AEW, but I don't think he was officially signed. I think he just was there for a couple of matches.
Yeah, it was a part of a working agreement that AAA had with AEW that
right, that's what it was.
Went way to the wayside.
Yeah.
After again, Stephanie Vaquer appeared at Forbidden Door and then had no contract, so WWE could just swoop in and sign her.
Yeah, yeah.
That's not WWE's fault. That's smart business.
Yeah.
WCW did the same thing with Lex Luger.
Mm-hmm.
If you're working, if I'm a wrestling promoter and there's a hot talent, two words I love the most: handshake, agreement.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because pen ink to paper, that's not legally binding.
Right.
Okay. So that I don't know who botched that, but hey, if you can get someone that's fresh off a pay-per-view and everyone's buzzing about them, or a premium live event,
yeah,
and everyone's talking about them, do it. That's not dirty. That's smart.
Right. Right.
And so, yeah, I think there's a lot left to be worked out, such as where does Conan work in all this? Because he runs AAA.
But he's made a few appearances in AEW over the years as well, although not for a while, I guess. But
I mean, I don't know how that works, because Conan is another one of those guys that is a very controversial guy.
Yeah.
Again, not a guy that I've met, and if I've met someone, I will say it and I will give my 2 cents on him. But I've never met Conan, so I can't say anything. I've heard through my sources. I've heard good. I've heard bad. It's typical in pro wrestling. I mean, I think I've heard more good than bad. I think he's just very hard-headed and hard to work with, and that's not going to work over the Endeavor with the under the Endeavor banner.
I wonder though, and this would really apply to Alberto Del Rio more than anybody. I agree with you. If someone's hard to work with, that's not going to fly. They're not going to put up with it. But what if somebody's not necessarily hard to work with, but they do just have a checkered past, like Alberto Del Rio? Because I get the impression that at Endeavor, I'm blanking on his name. The top guy. The hell's his name?
Ari Emanuel.
Ari Emanuel. Thank you. I get the impression that he's not necessarily going to care that much. Like with somebody like Alberto Del Rio, is he really going to say, well, this guy's been accused of this and that? And by the way, Alberto Del Rio, we only scratched the surface. He's been accused of some really heinous shit.
Yeah.
But is Ari Emanuel really going to care that? Or who else is there? There's a Mark somebody, right? Mark
Shapiro.
Yeah.
No.
Like, are these guys going to really be that worried about it just because of the vibe and the ethos and the impression that I get from them?
They're not going to care. They are not going to care.
Yeah.
Who is going to care is Nick Khan, Paul Levesque.
Yeah.
That's where the care is going to come in.
That's true. I agree.
And they look. What I've seen from Endeavor is they're not gonna override. They don't pull their trump card, pardon the word there, unless they absolutely feel they have to.
Mm-hmm.
In a situation like this, I don't think they will. I think they're gonna listen to Nick Khan and Paul Levesque because at the end of the day, Paige is a free agent at this point. And Paige has expressed a willingness to come back after she does some other projects she wants to do. I believe Paul Levesque and Nick Khan both have said there's an interest in bringing her back.
Mm-hmm.
But where do you go if you bring back the man that allegedly physically abused her, mentally abused her, and contributed to her getting hooked on drugs?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that signing happens then. Because look, you can forgive some things. But it would be very hard to go into work every day and I have to see that person.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I would add too, I mean, Alberto Del Rio's age. I mean, he's in his mid-40s. It's not like he's I mean, again, in wrestling in 2025, that's not even old anymore. But I mean, is it long term? It's like how much, even if you were to bring him back, how much are you really going to get out of him at this point? You know what I mean?
And look, if we look at Alberto Del Rio right now, you cannot tell me he is all natural.
Yeah, he might be pharmaceutically enhanced, as I like to say.
Yeah, and Endeavor won't tolerate that. That's bad press waiting to happen. And what are you going to do if he jumps into the crowd and beats up someone?
Yeah.
I mean, he did it in Tijuana.
Yeah.
I think those are things that's why I have no worries about him debuting on WWE television, because I don't think it's going to happen.
Right.
I don't think WWE pulls that trigger, because that trigger could lead to a bomb that you don't want to go off.
Yeah. There was something, I think that it was from his first tenure in WWE, where he slapped somebody because they said, what was it? A writer, maybe? He slapped a writer for saying something racist to him, which is interesting in that, that's not something where I mean, don't get me wrong. I never condone violence, especially obviously in the workplace. Violence should not be tolerated. Although a racist getting slapped is not in and of itself something I'm particularly bothered by. But obviously, you can't go around just slapping people because they say something you're offended by.
I want to add, and again, this is all hearsay.
Yeah.
The racist comment was not made directly to him.
Yeah.
It wasn't made with malice. And the people that were around said that the writer was repeating something he had heard.
Okay. See, I don't remember the details. You have a better memory of that than I do.
Del Rio just went up and basically, pardon my language here, bitch smacked him.
Yeah. Well, that's not acceptable, obviously.
I mean, yeah, I understand, know your audience, but
yeah,
you can't just go up and smack the hell out of someone you work with because they say something you don't like.
Yeah.
And without even knowing the context of it.
Yeah.
I mean, we vilify Randy Orton for less. I mean, it's just pro wrestling fans are weird. The things that we defend and the things that we don't defend and the guys we defend and the guys we won't defend, like it's like Ric Flair's a legend. Let's forgive alleged / probable sexual assault. And it's like, no, you're the same person who says Chris Benoit shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame, but let's forgive what?
Right.
Have it make sense.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's kind of got their own boundaries and ideas.
I get
about
that, but
goodness
gracious.
Well, it'll be interesting though.
The line jumps.
Oh yeah, it does. It does.
We're constantly moving the goal line here of what we'll accept.
But it's just like, but that's just like, I get it though, because that's just like, that's life in general, right? I mean, everybody has, sometimes, you might find yourself in a situation in life where you have that one friend who does something really bad, but out of loyalty and out of friendship, because other things about them that are really good that maybe other people don't know. So you kind of, it's just, it's life. It's, we all have to kind of make our own determination.
Here's my determination.
Yeah.
Drugs, speeding ticket, driving under the influence, I can forgive. Assault of a woman, assault of anyone.
Oh, I agree there.
Sexual assault.
Oh, yeah. No, I agree.
No, I'm probably going to be like, oh, boy, no.
No, I'm with you there. But it will be very interesting to see how this all proceeds with WWE.
The rumor I have read that they want to do is that basically this is going to be AAA is going to serve as NXT Mexico.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
Which is perfect.
Yeah.
And if Alberto Del Rio stays there, awesome.
Yeah, we don't have to see him.
Yeah, and that I was just gonna say, we're fans. We can choose what we watch. We can choose what we don't watch. You don't want to watch Alberto Del Rio, probably shouldn't watch NXT Mexico.
Yep.
And that's the way you can say, I don't approve of this.
Right. And that's assuming, by the way, that they even keep him. They may not.
The contract is guaranteed.
Yeah, but they could, they could buy him out. They could, I mean, maybe not. Maybe they do keep him. I don't know, but
I think the fear here is that he would end up in AEW.
I don't think Tony Khan would touch him. Do you? I don't think he would. I don't think he would.
He has friends in AEW.
Yeah, I don't think
Tony Khan is very, very invincible, and he does have people that like him in AEW. So
maybe I'm skeptical though. I think he would look at that as more trouble than it's worth.
I mean, again, there would be collateral damage with bringing him on.
Yeah.
You could probably kiss Paige ever coming back goodbye.
Right, no doubt. rightfully so.
Yeah, I can't say I blame her there.
No, certainly not. Anything to add on that, or should we move on?
We should move on to the main event
Yes.
here. Oh boy.
NWO sold out 1997 or 6.
Sold out. SOULED.
Yes. I'm
Not
forgetting the year now. Was it 96 or 97?
1997. I remember it like it was yesterday because I was there.
By the way, I took notes as I was watching it. I did not. I know you had originally suggested that I send you notes in real time as I was watching it because you were curious. I decided not to, though, only because I thought it would be more interesting if you are surprised by my thoughts and feedback. So I didn't want to.
I actually was thinking about it after I asked you to do that, and I'm like, you know what? I think I want it in real time because it offers this great difference. Because if I can be honest here for a moment, this is only my second time viewing the broadcast of it
Yeah.
because this took place, Matt, in Cedar Rapids, Iowa.
Yeah.
I was there in attendance live at the
Yeah.
Five Seasons Center.
Yeah.
So this was only my second time, and this is a 28-year-old event.
Yeah. Oh, hard to believe.
Yeah, it's only my second time watching the broadcast version of it.
And for younger fans who don't know about NWO sold out, one of the reasons it's so kind of notorious for those of us who do remember it is it's broadly considered one of the absolute worst pay-per-views in wrestling history. It is reviled, and I had never watched it, but I remember when it happened and everyone was just shitting all over it. I had not heard one single positive thing about any of it.
Okay. I'm going to say that I was in 8th grade the year this happened. I'm 42 now, so do the math, people. Um, uh, look, we have to look at the state of the wrestling business when this happened. NWO was the hottest thing.
Oh yeah,
I mean, anything WCW touched turned to gold, and like
during that period, yeah.
Shortly before this pay-per-view happened, there was an infamous photo in one of the actor mags, The Wrestler, Pro Wrestling Illustrated, Inside Wrestling, one of them, of Shawn Michaels at an airport wearing an Outsiders t-shirt
I remember that.
and threw up the too sweet. So for my friends and I that actually went to this show, we're like, oh man, you know what would be so awesome? Man, Vince fired. Oh, Sean's gonna get fired or he's gonna quit and he's gonna show up in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. And debut as a member of the NWO.
Right.
And he's gonna help Hall and Nash beat the Steiners.
Yeah.
Like it was that was the main thought we had going into the show is who's going to join next. And you know, it was a cool thing because the stars of WCW were all over Cedar Rapids the day of the event.
That must have been cool. Yeah.
You could go to Lindale Mall here in Cedar Rapids and meet Hall and Nash.
Yeah.
Eddie Guerrero was at a Subway on the bad side of town. They had Hugh Morris at a KFC.
Yeah.
And then after the show, the rumor is a lot of the guys were at a adult entertainment club here in Cedar Rapids called Dancers Ranch.
Okay.
So yeah. Look, it was a big deal for Cedar Rapids. Like, we were getting a pro wrestling pay-per-view.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was cool. Like, I remember being so psyched and like going in and hitting the souvenir stand and getting an NWO shirt, NWO hat,
Hmm.
getting the event t-shirt and the program and uh yeah,
Was it
that
was it sold out? No pun intended.
yes.
Okay.
And when the show opens, they're riding on dump trucks.
Yeah.
And those were City of Cedar Rapids dump trucks. They
Yeah.
shut down that block the night before the event to do that.
Yeah.
And it was -8 degrees
Oh, really?
temperature, not wind chill, temperature.
Yeah. Jesus. So I have I had a thought about this as I'm watching it, and believe it or not, there were a couple things about it that I liked that I thought were cool. But my broader thought was, because people always talk about Sold Out like it was a bad idea and they shouldn't have done this, and it was such a terrible mistake. But I tend to think of it as I kept coming back to this as I was watching it. I think there's a distinction to be made, and some might say this is a distinction without a difference. But in my mind, there's a distinction between a bad idea and a good idea with a lot of potential that is just very poorly executed. And that's how I felt about this. There were certain things that I liked. For example, the ramp, the way they walked down those stairs, I thought that looked cool as hell. I'd never seen that before, and I'm pretty sure I haven't seen it since.
Yeah.
I don't really, for people who haven't seen it, I'm not even sure how to describe it, but basically there's this flight of stairs that they walk down to get to the ramp to go into the ring. I thought that looked really cool. And that was one of the first things I noticed that I really liked.
It came off, and I couldn't make this correlation with when I was a kid because
Yeah.
I'd never seen it. I didn't see this movie till I was in college. The Nazi propaganda film Triumph of the Wills.
Yeah.
Just those. And I hate. I'm not trying to compare the NWO to Nazi Germany.
Oh, of course.
But very propaganda-esque with Eric Bischoff starting the show on this podium at the top of these stairs.
And I like that too.
That it was very dictator-esque.
Yeah.
Like, it felt like when you were in that arena that this man was our leader.
Yeah.
And it was really cool. And I feel where they got that from is at that time, Pride FC was really big in Japan. They were the Japan version of the UFC.
Yeah.
And that's how their fighters entered the ring.
Oh, okay.
And it was an over the top show, and it makes the arena feel bigger than what it is.
Yeah.
New Japan does it
Oh.
for if you watch Wrestle Kingdom.
Oh, okay.
They do it quite frequently for Wrestle Kingdom.
Okay.
That
Okay.
a setup like that, it makes it feel so much bigger and draws your attention. It's a production trick where they draw your attention up to the athletes, and then the athletes are coming down to the audience.
Yeah.
It builds, it's supposed to psychologically build anticipation.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I really like that. I thought that looked very, very cool. I liked the deal with Bischoff at the podium at the beginning. At the very beginning, you made reference to it, the video package of them riding the dump trucks. I thought that was cool too, but I thought it was too long. I felt myself getting impatient with it. Like, okay, how long does this go on? I get it. it's cool and
Yeah,
everything, but it's about twice as long as it needs to be. Like, let's get to something here. I did get a little, I thought it was too long, but I also understand, obviously they put a lot of work into it, but so you don't want it to be a quick thing, but I thought it dragged a little bit.
I did. One thing in my notes, I love the different camera angles that they
Yeah,
use.
me too.
The overhead camera they used. That
Yep.
was probably I'd say one of the first times they used something like that in a pro wrestling pay-per-view.
Yeah.
And that
Yep.
was really cool. Look, this isn't a total shit show here.
Right. Right.
There are some good, and we'll get into it. But just, I think this was so many experts or people point to Starcade 1997, which I haven't even talked to you about this yet, Matt, but I guarantee you, people, we will do an episode on Starcade 1997
Yeah.
because it is one of the most important pro wrestling events.
Yeah.
People will point to that as being like the start of the end of WCW.
Yeah.
I disagree. I think Sold Out is when people should have started to question, where are we going with this? What is the blow off? What is the end? Because if you're going to have a group of bad guys, and yes, they were over, but eventually the good guys have to have their comeuppance.
Yeah.
And you can't have an event, and this is where it's flawed. And is can't have an event with all NWO guys, NWO commentary team, and an NWO referee. How in the hell is WCW supposed to win these matches?
Well, see, I think that and by the way, so I think we agree from a production standpoint, it was cool. The problem is all in the creative, right?
Yup.
I think what they should have, this is where I think it actually was a good idea, just poorly executed. With a little bit of creativity, they could have built in angles where, for example, the WCW guys didn't want to participate, didn't want to be there, but on the way building up to this event, you could have done these angles where, like Chris Jericho and Eddie Guerrero and these guys who are going to be on this pay-per-view, they would only agree to do it under certain stipulations. Like, we need you have to put an unbiased referee in there, so you don't have Nick Patrick for every match, or for my match, I need to have, I got to have somebody in my corner to make sure you don't pull any shit during my match. Otherwise I'm not going to be there. They could have done creative things to give the WCW guys some incentives, and made it really interesting like that, instead of it just being, well, obviously the NWO is going to win almost every match because it's the deck is completely stacked. They could have done some creative things, but they just didn't. They just didn't bother. The creative sucked, but it could have been great. There are things that they could have done to made it really interesting, and then the story could have been, so maybe the WCW guys end up doing really much better than expected. And then part of the story is the NWO, they got a little overconfident. They got a little cocky. Are we seeing some cracks in the armor with the NWO? And maybe this whole thing kind of blows up in the NWO's face a little bit. That would have been really interesting. You could tell a great story with that and shoot off with all these other angles from that. But it's like, the creative was just dog shit. It was all, and the production, like I said, the production was, I thought, very cool and different, but the creative just sucked, and it was lazy. That's what it is. It was lazy creative. They didn't think about what they were doing on that, in that aspect.
No, and Matt, you hit it on the head. And I think when we talk about the matches, we're going to get into a lot of the issues. And like some of these matches, it isn't even like, man, this looks good. It's just they had a bad night. No, you look at some of these matches and it's like, why and look, all of this is done in hindsight. We have
Yeah.
hindsight and the ability to armchair quarterback this.
Yeah.
But why the hell is this on a pay-per-view?
Right.
Why are we watching Big Bubba versus Hugh Morris?
Yeah.
Why, like, why is this here? Why? It's just there's so many different things that I just don't. That you look at it, and I remember when my friends and I left the arena that night.
Yeah.
We were just kind of like, oh, yeah, I mean, it was cool.
Yeah.
We saw pay-per-view, but it wasn't like when we would leave SmackDown in Des Moines, or when we left the Monday Night Raw in Ames when Triple H won his first world title.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't that.
Yeah.
And it was, oh yeah, that was cool. Um, and I remember I got home and my aunt asked me, she's like, oh, did you have fun? Yeah, I had fun. And I showed her my souvenirs and everything, and like the autographs I'd gotten around town throughout the day.
Yeah.
And then she was like, oh, well, looks like you had fun. Well, and my aunt still to this day is just an amazing woman. Really more my mom than my actual mom. But she was just like, so your favorites win? And I stopped and I'm like, I don't even really know.
Yeah.
And she just gave me a look, and it was a look like
There were no winners that night.
like this look of I spent $50 on a ticket, and you can't even tell me who won. And it's like,
Yeah.
I don't know what I got these cool T-shirts.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't even think this was released on Turner Home Video.
Oh, no kidding. Oh.
I don't think they did a home video release. I could be wrong. If someone out there knows and wants to correct me, please do.
Yeah.
I don't even know if I would have watched the home video.
Yeah.
No.
There's something else I wanted to mention from a production standpoint, and this is one of those things you'll probably disagree with me, because I think this is like the WrestleMania 41 main event where I might be the only person on earth who feels this way. But one of the things that I've heard is just so reviled about Sold Out is the commentary of Bischoff and DiBiase. I actually liked it. I actually thought it was good. I thought they worked well together. And
Mr. Connerton, I am going to.
I'm sorry.
Going to.
I don't mean
I'm
to
going to
cough.
shock you.
You liked it?
In my notes, I actually have this written. Commentary was not bad, but
No shit. Okay.
But the bias got very boring.
Yeah, I didn't mind it though. I expected that, but no, I'm surprised. I'm surprised though that you liked it, because I thought I was the only one. I've never heard anyone say that they even. Most people just shit all over it and say that they were terrible together.
See, what was more annoying was that even in the arena, my buddies and I were getting pretty mad at it. Them playing loser over in the middle of a match. Like, if on the broadcast, it was just like, what?
Yeah, that's weird. Yeah.
Like, and keep in mind, for those of you that have never been to a pro wrestling live event, the commentary you hear on TV, we don't hear in the arena.
Yeah.
It doesn't play over the speakers. I mean, look, I think Eric Bischoff is a great play-by-play guy.
Yeah, actually,
I think Ted DiBiase, when he does color commentary, he's good.
Yeah.
I think they both served a great purpose here.
Now that I'm thinking about it, yeah, no, I agree. Okay, that's interesting. I thought you were going to disagree with me on that. Now that I'm thinking about it, though, and I'm just having this thought right now, this hadn't occurred to me. They might have benefited from a third person there, someone more neutral to just kind
I
of
think
be
they should
there.
have had Tony Schiavone.
Yeah, that would have been. I think that would have
I
worked better.
agree. I think it would have broken it up, but
Yeah,
I think the thought process was probably we don't want to break the NWO mystique by
yeah,
having a WCW guy. Maybe Mike Tenay would have been.
yeah. I can
Um,
see that.
you could have worked better. Or I mean, you're obviously not going to have Larry Zabisco on there, or
I would have loved. I love Zabisco as a commentator. One of the most underrated commentators, in my personal
he.
opinion,
I
ever.
think he. I have an uncommon opinion on Larry Zabisco. I think he's a better commentator than a wrestler.
I agree. I
I
agree with you.
I really do, and that's Larry's a good wrestler, but his commentary and he is such an underrated and underappreciated part of the getting the NWO over.
Hmm.
Because you had Heenan who was just scared of him, but
Right.
Zabisco was in the booth ready to fight them.
He would have been a good third person to have as a
I,
counterweight. I think to Bischoff and
I
DiBiase.
think you needed someone that could be more neutral, and that's why I said Mike Tenay would have been
Yeah,
a
but
good
it's still,
choice.
but it'd still be 2 against 1. I think, but I no, I think Tanay would have been a good choice. But I think Zabisco might have been interesting.
Yeah,
Um,
I think the blow off would have been Zabisco just punching one of them.
yeah,
Like,
that would have been cool.
maybe he could have punched the winner of the beauty contest.
Yeah. I did make a comment in my notes. I said DiBiase and Bischoff on commentary is fun, even though they're not bothering to call the match. And
Yeah,
I made that note during
I
Jericho
mean,
versus Chono because they really didn't bother. But not that I minded; it was fine in the context of
was
what
there
they were doing.
really? But there wasn't much to call in Jericho Chono.
Well, that's true too. But
I
I
mean,
noticed very quickly it's like, yeah, they're not even really going to call these matches. But I was actually okay with it.
yeah, I didn't have like, yeah, I think sometimes I think, and we'll get into this. There's a point in the show in my notes where I put eh, everything's just blending together now. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm losing track of what I'm watching, and I think that that's a detriment of that commentary. Is
Yeah.
that yes, at that point we definitely like things started blending together, and unfortunately, it happens right when the two best matches on the card are
Mm.
gonna take off. So yeah,
One other thing about Jericho versus Chono too, I did put this in my notes. USA chants during that match, even though neither of them are American. I thought that was kind of funny. Jericho, obviously Canadian.
no one accused Cedar Rapidians of being smart. Well, I mean, we're from white trash Kakalooka County, Matt.
I get it. So you see Jericho, he's a white guy. He must be American. I get it.
Mm.
Actually, now that
I
I'm
mean,
thinking about it, though, they used to do that during Yokozuna versus Bret Hart. They would chant USA.
well, Hulk Hogan told you why in his WrestleMania 9 promo why we didn't like Yokozuna.
Yeah.
Yeah, they edited it out on the network, but on the home video version, he called Yokozuna, and this was on pay-per-view, a big nasty jab.
Oh, that's right. Yes, yes.
Even though Yokozuna is not Japanese.
Oh, one other production related thing too. I said band is super annoying.
Yeah, the live band, being there live, yeah.
That didn't come off well on the broadcast. It
No,
didn't come off well in the arena either.
no, because the acoustics in the Five Seasons Center were absolutely awful.
Oh, okay. That never helps.
No.
I also made a comment. I like heel Nick Patrick. I liked him as a heel ref. I thought he was very good in that role. And
I think what's funny about that though is you can see him start to get blown up.
oh yeah, because he had to do every single match. Every single match, yeah.
After each match, he had to walk up the steps.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. You got a good workout.
Oh man, if he had an Apple Watch, then that thing short circuited.
And the only other thing I put in my notes, I didn't take copious notes, but the only other thing worth mentioning that I did make a note of was that the Miss NWO stuff is so cringe, and that was much worse than I expected. You told me, you warned me about that it was really bad. I didn't expect it to be that bad. Holy shit! Like, wow, what a disaster!
One of those women. Those beauties, as Eric Bischoff kept calling them, with that annoying co-host that ended up producing Snakes on a Plane.
What was his name? I'd never seen him before. Jeff something?
But he ended up becoming a Hollywood producer.
Oh, okay.
He produced Snakes on a Plane. So there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of those women was a substitute teacher for the Cedar Rapids Community School District.
Oh, really?
She ended up losing her job over it.
She did? She lost her job for participating in that?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God. Was she someone you knew? Because was she in your...
No.
Okay.
I think she was elementary school and we were in middle school at that time.
So she was a substitute teacher there and she lost her job for participating in the Miss NWO?
Yep. She was not allowed to substitute.
Wow. See, if that had happened today, she could have just started a podcast and you would have been...
Forget that, OnlyFans.
Or OnlyFans too, yeah.
Straight from the trailer park, Matt.
Yeah.
Come on.
Well, she got fired for that. That's too bad, actually. That's... what they fire her for being a part of really, really bad television? I mean, what?
It was acts unbecoming of an employee of the Cedar Rapids Community School District.
Wow. Okay. No.
Yeah. How I found out is my mother, the beacon of hope and ray of light that she is, came home, and that is said just oozing in sarcasm. Came home, and I'm at home, and she walks in and she said, "Your stupid fake bullshit pro wrestling got a teacher fired today."
Wow.
And I'm like, okay. And so yeah, I totally forgot about it until a couple days later in school.
Wow. Yeah, I imagine it was the talk of the school, huh?
Like, I wore one of my NWO shirts, and one of the teachers, one of the associates of the school, going into lunch said something. Yeah, they got my friend fired. I'm like, what are you talking about?
Wow.
And she explained it to us, and then we're like, oh, well, we're kids, so we're just like, sucks for her. Too sweet me.
I wonder if we could find her and get her.
He was one of the older women, Matt. So I don't know.
She might be dead.
Yeah, I was trying to think of a delicate way to say she might not be in the realm of the living anymore.
Dead, or she might not remember. Yeah. Wow.
Or she might not
those were some
talk about it.
Yeah. Wow. That's wild. Do you remember if she had any support? Like, was there... I mean, it was a different time. It was... The internet was still young.
I think no. I mean, because it was then, like, school boards were like revered. You didn't across a school board. And look, older me kind of sees a point to it. Like, how do you expect kids to respect someone that took part in a pro wrestling show?
Well, especially that pro wrestling show where
Like,
those
well,
women were
kids
not
are
featured in a
in
positive
a
light.
yeah, they weren't. And I think that's a larger part of it too. Like, people are like, oh, that seems like a petty reason until you watch
Yeah.
the until you watch it and you see how they were presented in some of the questions they were asked. And
Yeah.
I mean, look,
Ugh.
oh man, and they were all women. I believe all of them were from Cedar Rapids or Marion.
That's what Bischoff was saying, because I did listen. You sent me the link to that episode of 83 Weeks where Bischoff talks about that. And yeah, he says they were all local. You know, they wanted these biker chicks. They didn't want hot women. They didn't want women from the strip club. He
I,
wanted to feature more like, which, by the way, so there is something positive in that, right? Like he wanted to feature real women, not like, you know, sort of plastic Barbie type women you would normally see in some sort of beauty pageant, which there is something good in that. But it's like to bring these women on for this, like this terribly produced, demeaning, like, it's almost like he's saying, okay, so we want to bring these biker chicks in, and because they're beautiful in their own way. But it's like, but I think he recognizes this now too, based on how he was speaking about it. But it ends up being even more demeaning in a way. And then he's
yeah,
making out with the winner at the end, and it's like, oh, this is so gross. This isn't cringe. This is beyond. This is repulsive. Like, what am I watching?
it wasn't up there with watching Vince McMahon make out with Trish Stratus.
That's uncomfortable too, but I'd rather see that.
No, stop.
Than Bischoff making out with
His tongue going all around her mouth.
Oh,
Come
yeah, that
on,
is pretty
man.
bad, actually. You're right. But at least but this was like, oh, this is awful. Like, what
It was
the hell?
not they were not representative. I told someone at work this because I was pointing out to them the NWO beauties. And I'm like, look, I mean, no disrespect to women. I think, you know, as you get older, beauty is skin deep. You learn about inner beauty and everything like that. But if you're gonna have a beauty pageant, there's probably a degree of hotness that has to be there. I'm like, you see the bikers with the shirt that says, in it's one of the most, I mean, not by biker standards or even by our standards, but it's pretty tasteless. The one that say, if you can read this, the bitch fell off.
Mm.
These were the women that fell off.
Well, but they were put in a terrible position because the production was so bad. There's that moment where, and it's the woman who ends up winning the whole thing. Where what's his name? That Jeff guy, whatever the hell, what is it? Jeff Katz, is that his name?
Yup.
He's talking to, he's asking her, because, you know,
And she can't hear.
she can't, right. He's asking her a question like, what would you do for a night with Kevin Nash or whatever the hell it was? And she's just like, I can't hear you. And it's like, oh, this is so bad.
He made it even cringier with the questions he was asking.
Yeah.
Like it was it was so demeaning.
Yeah.
It's like, are you? At first, I thought he was like Bubba the Love Sponge before he became a fat piece of shit.
Yeah.
And then I looked it up, and I'm like, oh, okay. Oh, he made Snakes on a Plane. Okay, so that's the second most annoying thing he's done.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah,
So bad.
it was bad. And look, I want to go back. You mentioned the Jericho Chono match.
Yeah.
Notes on that.
Yeah.
I'm like, could have and should have been better based on the two that were in it.
Yeah.
It was very sloppy. Although I liked the table spot at the end.
I didn't think it was that bad. I thought it was all right. I didn't think it was terrible, but not a great opener. I mean, you want a really strong hot opener, and that wasn't it. It
Was
was
there,
slow.
but I think when we criticize an opener, though, we gotta look at the card. Be
Yeah.
like, is there a better opener?
Yeah, that's a good
And
point. That's a good
and
point. The card was
I,
weak.
the card was weak. Like you could have put Six and Eddie Guerrero, which I thought was the match of the night.
Yes, that was good. But of course it was. You know
Yeah,
what I
I
mean? Like
mean,
you look at the two guys in it, it's like they probably couldn't have had a bad match if they tried, you know?
yeah, and it was a ladder match too. Like
Yeah.
that's the one match that WCW could justifiably win.
Yeah.
And they did. So
Yeah. Yeah.
it was good.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. I thought also another great match was Steiner's Outsiders.
Yeah. Yeah, that was
I
good.
thought I think out of all the matches they had, that was probably their best one. And you ended it with. I mean, I would have stuck with the finish.
Hmm.
Because that Monday on Nitro, Eric Bischoff came out. He stripped the Steiners of the title,
Yeah.
saying, "Oh, Randy Anderson wasn't." No, you should have had someone from WCW come out and say, "No, the day of the show, we got Randy Anderson sanctioned. He was a sanctioned official by the Iowa State Athletic Commission. He counted the pin, but we'll give him a rematch." And
Right.
that would have galvanized
Yes.
WCW.
Yes.
And so I, I thought that hokey bullshit just destroyed what was a great match.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I
Because
agree.
because at some point, again, you need the heels to chase.
Yes.
They
Yeah.
can't, and that would have been perfect to have the outsiders chase.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. I agree. I agree.
Just yeah, and then I mean, after that, the main event. Oh boy, that was a mess.
Yeah.
I mean, Giant's limitations.
Yeah.
I mean, because he's a bigger guy. And we all know at that point what Hogan's limitations were.
Yes.
Just I mean, and the thing is they'd had matches before and they were bad.
Yeah.
Like, why are you doing it again?
Yeah. You had
Like,
sent me
what would have been a super cool visual? Now that I think about it, I just thought of this.
yeah.
Is if you would have had, I don't know, like trying to think of someone that could have fit it. Not Ric Flair. Um,
Oops.
someone Luger, maybe, because they were still Sting was appearing, but he hadn't had a match yet, so Sting was out. What would have been such a cool visual is you have a situation where you have Hogan versus Luger and Luger wins.
Hmm.
You could have NWO dominate
Yeah.
this entire card,
Yeah.
win every match.
Yep.
But at the end of the night, WCW wins.
Yep.
And that would have been brilliant.
Yes,
And
I agree.
I know people are going to say, oh, well, then you kill Starcade 97. No, you don't. Hot shot it back to Hogan. Do
Sure.
what? Do next month at Super Brawl. Flipping, have him get the title back. Or you could have had Eric Bischoff could have been so cocky. I'm stealing your idea. So damn cocky And we'll let anyone from WCW come in. They could sign anyone off the street. Then you build this idea of it could be anyone. And
Yeah.
you have Randy Savage come out
Yeah.
and have him go over on Hogan.
Yeah.
Place would place would have been place would have blown up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Would have
There's a-
went crazy. Would have been the hottest reaction to a match ever.
Yeah. There's so much they could have done. But again, great idea, but just poorly executed because of lazy creative. It was so the creative was lazy.
And I think this event just points to Turner not understanding pro wrestling and underestimating the pro wrestling fans. I really think they did.
Yeah.
Because after you saw this, what in your right mind would possess you to say, we're going to give WCW a second 2-hour show a week?
Yeah, no kidding, huh?
Like, this should have kind of caused a pause.
Yeah.
Been like, I mean, not, I don't want to, because it seems as if it's common practice to just go off on Eric Bischoff for WCW's failures. And that's not the case.
No.
Again, I would recommend anyone watch the series Who Killed WCW.
Yes.
Or read the Guy Pearce book Nitro to fully understand what happened to WCW.
Yeah.
Me personally, and I'll say this anytime we talk about WCW, AOL Time Warner killed WCW.
Right. They made the decision to kill that TV deal,
Well,
and that was it.
They made so many bad decisions.
Well, the decision's on the way to that too. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I do believe had they sold it to Eric Bischoff, and Eric Bischoff did his plan to revitalize WCW by taking a year off and then having a show on New Year's Eve at the MGM Grand,
Yeah.
relaunching it.
Yeah.
I think I personally believe we'd still be talking about WCW today.
Yeah, quite possibly. Yeah.
But again, this is what happens when you have non-pro wrestling people making pro wrestling decisions.
Yep.
And you have that, and it doesn't work. And this is what I meant when I said we started seeing the cracks happen.
Yep.
And I believe you were going to bring up one of the major cracks is on the original event poster.
Yeah, so you had sent me that, and it's the NWO, but the Giant is it looks like in the picture the Giant is Paul White is still a part of the NWO, the way this picture. Now, when I first looked at this though, and we'll use it as the thumbnail for this segment on YouTube, but when I first looked at it, I thought, oh, they made a mistake. Whoever put this together, typical sloppy WCW, and they used a picture of when the Giant was still in the NWO itself. But then it occurred to me, what was it a mistake, or was it just poor design, and that they were trying to show the Giant is a big part of the event because he's in the main event against Hulk Hogan, but they botched it because it makes it look like he's a part of the NWO when that's not what they intended. So is it that they just flat out got it wrong because they were being sloppy, or were they trying to communicate something else with this poster, but they failed spectacularly because it gives you the wrong impression? You know what I mean?
Right. The thing is, I believe, I don't think this was set on 83 weeks.
They didn't bring up the poster from what I recall.
Okay.
Because I listened to it today and there was no talk of that.
I read the transcript. I went through the whole transcript. I didn't see anything.
Yeah.
But on one of the Conrad Thompson podcasts, those pay-per-view posters are designed 3 months in advance.
Right.
So keep in mind that the Giant didn't. The Giant won World War III. That's what led to him leaving the NWO. So I don't think that this was the original plan.
Okay.
I don't think having the Giant leave so soon was.
Okay. That makes
I
sense.
don't know what the original plan was.
Yeah.
It could have been an injury derailed it, or it could have been they're like NWO pay-per-view. Oh crap, we have to have Hulk Hogan on it. Who do we have in face? Oh, Giant just won this battle royal. Let's push this turn through, get him back over, and then we do.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, you're probably right. That's
We-
better than my theory. Actually, yeah. So I
I
think
mean,
you're
your
right.
theory works too. But
Yours is better though. Yours is more solid because you're right. I mean, they those were designed way in advance, and I today with technology you can whip something up easily, but at the last minute if you have to. But back then, not so much.
These posters. This was the advertisement in our local paper, the Cedar Rapids Gazette,
Yeah,
for weeks before the on sale date.
yeah. So that makes your theory makes sense.
So I mean, again, yeah, it's a botch. It's something that, but it's WWE did it before where they had a pay-per-view called "It's in Your House, It's Time."
Oh yeah,
Vader is on the poster, and he has a set an 8-minute match on the pre-show.
yeah. That's right. I remember that.
And it's like, okay, how does this happen?
Yeah.
Well, and now that I think about it, that's where I heard it from. Is that was on the Something to Wrestle episode about Vader.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so yeah, it's coming back to me now. So
Okay.
yeah, those are designed well in advance. It isn't. So yeah, plans change, but back then it's not like now where you just go into Photoshop and
Yep.
brush him out and make the logo bigger, maybe push the photo over, do a couple quick things,
Yep.
and then send it to the press, and the press gets it, and the change happens.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's your theory is pretty sound, I think. So then so this was the only year. So Sold Out continued as an annual event, but not as NWO Sold Out, obviously.
It was WCW Sold Out. Then it was WCW NWO Sold Out, and then it went back to WCW Sold Out. I mean, the next year's event was also controversial because they hyped it up as we are going to settle who the world champion is after Starrcade 97. They didn't settle it. They pushed it off to the next month in that Sting and Hogan were going to have a world title match at Starrcade.
Yeah.
And there would be a winner. Well, yeah, there has to be a winner because you vacated the title.
Yeah.
So, and they gave Bret Hart and Ric Flair 13 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's also infamous for when Kevin Nash tried to jackknife the Giant.
Oh yeah. Yep.
And when Dusty Rhodes turned heel.
Oh yeah. Which is not great.
Yeah, so I mean, there were some good matches. Like I said, the tag title match, the best match of the night was Guerrero and Jericho. I thought it was very good.
Yeah.
The rest, like Buff Bagwell versus Scotty Riggs. I mean, Riggs tried. I mean, we got to see the Buff Blockbuster.
His finishing move.
Yeah, that was the first time.
That was the first time you'd used that, right? On
Hmm.
TV. Yeah, I like that actually. I like that's
That was
about the only thing
cool.
I like, but yeah,
But
it's a cool move.
I mean, Scotty Riggs tried.
Yeah.
Uh, he tried to turn chicken salad out of chicken shit. Didn't work.
Yep. Yep.
Unfortunately, you had Hugh Moore. Another note I had is the Mexican death match. And the rules were never explained. You had Nick
Yeah.
Patrick running around talking about disqualifying people. And
Yeah.
then you had, like, people would be laying on the mat and he'd be counting to 10, even after someone got up. And you're like, is this a like, even in the audience at
Yeah.
the event, as I was watching, I'm like, I remember people just looking around like, what the
Yeah.
hell is going on? And then you had Scott Norton and DDP.
Yep.
And no one knew that until they announced it that DDP was counted out. It's like, well, wait.
Yeah.
The NWO guys touched him. That's a disqualification. Like, what is going on here?
Yeah. Yeah.
There was a lot more questions than answers
Yeah.
with that one. Yeah, and then having the crowd kind of turn on the NWO.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there's been as you might say, there have been a lot of pay-per-views, and that was one of them.
That oh boy, it was.
Yeah.
I was there live.
Yeah.
Yeah. I I've done a lot of unfortunate things in public.
Yeah.
Yeah, going to that is pretty high on the list.
Yeah. Yeah. It was it was a hard, like I said, that was the first time I'd ever watched it. It was a hard watch. Well,
I mean, and the sad thing is, Matt, is it one of the worst WCW pay-per-views? Is it really? If we're gonna look,
there's been some others that are pretty bad. Yeah.
I mean, I sent it to you in our group chat. Man Cow versus Jimmy Hart was on a pay-per-view.
Yes, it was. I'd forgotten about that. I'd forgotten all about it.
Oh
Memory,
my!
perhaps.
Oh,
Yeah.
like I can't even.
I know.
I can't. How did this company fail?
Well, there you go. So that's NWO sold out. Anything to add, or should we talk about next week?
I mean, I think I'll give it a rating. I mean, I'll give it 2.5 stars.
Out of 5?
Out of 5. Yeah, I'm not gonna totally crap on it.
Yeah.
I think the tag match and the ladder match were the saving graces. I thought
Yes.
Scott Norton and DDP was good.
Yeah.
I think, but man, Chono and Jericho I thought it was sloppy. Hugh Morris and Big Bubba. I've never gotten what the big deal was with Bill DeMott.
Yeah.
Everyone thinks he's this great wrestler.
No, I never saw it either. I'm with you.
I don't see it. I don't get it. I mean, someone can explain it to me. I don't get it. Maybe it's psychology. I don't know.
No.
But and then Bagwell Riggs, Scotty Riggs is a decent worker, but Lord have mercy.
Yeah.
Oh man, Buff Bagwell has to be the definition of $1 million body, 5 cent ability.
Yeah.
Like just, like, yeah, just the whole thing, and like, look, I firmly believe that it could have been better. And I think that this is when Turner, Harvey Schiller, head of Turner Sports, someone should have kind of grabbed the reins and said, the stagecoach is veering off course here a little bit.
Yeah.
Let's get it back together.
Yeah.
Because we're still 14 months away from WWE totally changing the tide.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
There was time to correct this.
Yeah. True.
But I think that this was the beginning of seeing some of the cracks in the foundation.
Yeah.
And I didn't see it as a precarious 8th grader at that time. But now, if I knew then what I know now, I would have been able to identify it.
Right. Right.
Because I think, WCW did some compelling things after this, like
Sure.
Sting, and they had Luger win the title in Detroit that year.
Oh, yeah.
They did a lot of great things. I don't know, like watching an event like this. Anytime you watch a quote unquote bad pay-per-view or PLE from a promotion that's dead, you sit there and you're like, what could have been?
Right. Right. Well, like I said, a good idea, but just very poorly executed.
Yeah,
Yep.
I agree. But I still would say, if you want to see the Notorious event, it's on Peacock.
Yep. It sure
Go
is.
ahead. And the full beauty pageant's on there. Yeah.
Yeah.
There isn't a lot we can say.
Yeah.
Like I said last week, and like Matt said, there have been a lot of wrestling pay-per-views, and this was one of them. And
Exactly.
it came from my city.
Yep.
Matt, how would you feel if this emanated from Manchester, New Hampshire, at SNHU Arena?
Yeah, well, I don't know. I don't know.
In the administrative offices of, now we're the Alliant Energy powerhouse.
Oh, okay.
And it's been greatly renovated since the flood of 2008. It's a state-of-the-art arena now.
Oh.
In the administrative office, I believe they still have this event poster hanging up,
Oh, no kidding.
signed by all the participants.
Oh, well, that's cool. That's cool anyway. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I actually had sent an email to them asking if anyone was still, didn't share this with you, was there that took part
Yeah.
in this event. I didn't get a response, and I'm highly doubting
Yeah, probably not.
that there is. But I mean, to this day, there are people in Cedar Rapids that speak fondly of this. They will say, like, if I wear my NWO t-shirt, or my cousin Austin, they'll say, I remember when those boys came to Cedar Rapids.
Yeah.
And it's
that's cool.
It's like, yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
The whole wrestling community remembers when they came to Cedar Rapids, just not as fondly as you do.
Right. Exactly. Well, should we talk about next week?
Yeah. Yes, this was actually your idea, so I'll let you hype up next week.
Well, so the main subject will be Bret the Hitman Hart.
There is a lot to talk about there. You guys thought I bloviated on CM Punk. You're in for a treat, because
he's your favorite.
He is my GOAT. And I don't get starstruck when I meet people. It's happened twice, when I met William Shatner and when I met Bret the Hitman Hart.
Yeah.
One of my prized possessions is actually hanging up right here. Is on the back. It is signed by Bret the Hitman Hart with
Oh, cool.
his catchphrase: "The best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be."
Yeah. He's he's my number 2. He's a close number. My all-time favorite is Macho Man Randy Savage, but Bret's a very close number 2. So I'm excited to talk about him as well.
Yeah, there's a lot to talk about. I mean, I'm sure it has to get brought up. I hope that we can keep it at a minimum because I want to focus on the good. I don't want
Yeah.
to focus on the bad. I don't want to focus on the screw job. I mean, we'll have to talk about it, but
Yeah.
again, I circle back to the point we had with Sabu. Bret Hart isn't dead. And he's actually pretty healthy for a guy that's been through what he's been through.
Yeah.
But I choose to hold on to the great memories I have of him. Not that night in November 1997 when I cried walking home from my friends
Yeah.
after seeing Vince screw him, or when I was at school and learned from reading on the internet that Bret Hart had to retire
Yeah.
because of Bill Goldberg. I don't. There is Bret Hart's career is worth far more than those two unfortunate instances.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
There is so much great things to talk about in the guys that he made better. Like even today, Shawn Michaels says Bret made him better.
Oh, absolutely.
Someone that he has, I mean, heat with. I don't know if Bret is very good. Bret just says what he thinks about anyone.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, even Triple H, who he has not had good things to say about. I think it's criticism, whether you think it's fair or not, is open for discussion. But even Triple H said if you're in the ring with Bret Hart, you leave that ring being better for it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And so it'll be a great discussion, I think.
Yeah, yeah. So we look forward to that, and so we'll wrap up there. But Eric, thank you so much, and
thank you guys. It was good for me to go down memory lane. It actually allowed me to talk to some buddies that I needed to catch up with too. Just, you remember this, and they didn't remember it as vividly as I did, but they like have lives. They have wives. They have those pesky wives and those pesky kids and those damn mortgages. I'm a guy that lives with my dog in a 1-bedroom apartment. Very
lucky.
minimal.
Oh, go ahead.
Very minimalistic. So I can have that time to reminisce.
I'm lucky. In my case, Jenny likes wrestling also. So
Rocky doesn't really have a care. Like if there's a premium live event, he just wants some of the snacks.
Right. That makes sense.
He knows, like, if he sees the small CM Punk shirt come out, that's probably getting put on him.
Oh, okay. That's cool. All right.
Yes.
So thank you everybody for listening. Episode 3, Tough Bumps in the books, and we'll talk.
And we still have not been kicked off the internet yet, or suspended, Which
that's true.
There are a lot of people who have been suspended off things on the internet.
That is true. Oh boy, don't we know that?
Yeah.
And all right, we'll see you all week we'll see you next week rather for episode 4 of Tough Bumps.
Absolutely.
Tough Bumps name.